Do Americans have the right to grow their own food? Big corporations control America's farming. Some people are fighting back. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Just so you know, YouTube is secretly unsubscribing people. And they're not telling you when new episodes come out, so be sure to check back every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for new episodes. The future is bright, my friends. Back in 2016, the World Economic Forum predicted that by 2030, we'll own nothing and be happy. The US won't be the world's leading superpower. And we'll eat much less meat. The United Nations has also said we need to cut down on meat. So what do people do about protein? Simple. The UN says people should be eating more insects. I mean, why aren't we eating more insects? That's what we should be doing if we want to save the planet. Now, some people might not like the idea of having to eat insects. Those people probably watch Snowpiercer. I'll never look at a protein bar the same way again. Or maybe people who don't want to eat bugs are insane conspiracy theorists, according to the Daily Beast. No one's trying to force you to eat bugs. Where could anyone get that idea? Oh, right, the World Economic Forum. But surely this can't be true. This is Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum. Does he look like a guy who would try to bring the world to heel and make the masses eat insects while billionaires eat filet mignon? He's the second most respectable Klaus, after Klaus Nomi. But anyway, the Daily Beast is being a bit too extreme. There are legitimate reasons people don't want to eat bugs. As Vox tells us, it isn't the ew factor. It's, do we really know all we need to know about the lives of insects and whether they're worthy of moral consideration? Jiminy Cricket. He has feelings too. But how could the government or corporations tell you what you have to eat, right? Well, right now, they can't. But this touches on an important issue. Who controls food production? The state, corporations, or individual people? That's at the center of the debate around food sovereignty. It's the idea that the people who produce, distribute, and consume food should be the ones making decisions about food policies, instead of large corporations or international institutions. Here's a question for you. Do you, as an American citizen, have the right to grow and eat your own food? Not necessarily. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. Americans don't actually have the right to grow and eat their own food.
For many people, the right to grow their own food seems like a given, but it's not yet.
The right to food is recognized by international treaties, like Article 11 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Some countries also explicitly mention or at least allude to the right to food in their constitutions, but the U.S. doesn't actually guarantee it. It's not considered a right. And that means government legislation or corporate interests could prevent you from freely growing, eating, or selling your own food. Today, America's farmland is dominated by corporations. During the Great Depression, plant breeders, including Thomas Edison, demanded patents for their own hybrid creations. Congress passed the Plant Patent Act, and President Herbert Hoover made it law in 1930. This gave way for two types of intellectual property systems for plants: patents and plant variety protection, PVP for short. Thanks to plant patents and PVPs, farmers can't produce, reproduce, exchange, sell, or even use patented seeds without permission. That's because buyers must sign agreements that prohibit them from saving seeds from their crops to exchange or resow the following year. This spells big profit for the big agricultural industry, called Big Ag for short. So unlike the old days where farmers would save some of their seed to plant next season, nowadays farmers have to keep buying new seeds from big ag. Monsanto has even sued small farmers for reusing seeds. We've mentioned how big ag's hold of corn has been hurting small farmers and making us dangerously vulnerable in a previous episode. Over the years, large corporations have been taking over so many smaller ones that now just 10 companies control over half of the global seed market. And Bill Gates is the biggest private owner of farmland in the United States. I know that seems weird, but Bill Gates has been secretly telling us his intention to own U.S. farmland all along. What do you think this is? Wake up, sheeple! But it's not just that farming has been consolidated by a tiny number of giant corporations. Over the past century, because of how these corporations farm, we've lost some 75% of plant genetic diversity. And the monopoly on seeds has given companies like Monsanto tremendous power to lobby the government to make laws friendly to them. And remember, there's nothing in the U.S. Constitution that protects Americans' right to grow, eat, and sell their own food. For example, back in 2014, the Maine Supreme Court ruled against a farmer who had sold raw milk without a distributor's license. Maine is actually at the forefront of a nationwide battle for food sovereignty. Back in 2017, the state legislature passed the Maine Food Sovereignty Act, which allows small food producers to sell directly to consumers on site. It was seen as a win for the food sovereignty movement. But that's nothing compared to what happened last week. More after this final commercial break. Welcome back. Maine. It's not just about lobsters, moose, and being way too close to Canada. Last week, Maine residents voted to add a right to food amendment to their state constitution. And that could have huge implications for food sovereignty nationwide. The right to food movement there was spearheaded by, get this, bipartisan cooperation between State Senator Craig Hickman, a Democrat, and State Representative Billy Bob Falkingham, a Republican. Hickman himself is a farmer, and they were both concerned about people's right to grow and raise their own food.
More than 13,000 Mainers like Hickman grow their own food and raise their own farm animals. Right now, they do so without any problem from the state government.
It's not illegal now, but it could be. All it would take is legislation to make it illegal.
I can't imagine why anyone would think that we should not have the right to obtain any food that we wish.
Falkingham was afraid that companies like Monsanto could own all the seeds, and the government would be telling people what they are allowed to eat and where they can grow it. That's why they pushed for a bipartisan amendment to enshrine the right to grow your own food into the state constitution. Falkingham called it the Second Amendment of food. After all, shouldn't every apple have the right to defend itself? That's a big deal because Maine's constitution would preempt local and state law. It would make it hard for the state government to pass later laws that could be seen as restricting the right to food. And there was plenty of opposition. For example, there's language in the amendment that says people should be allowed to save and exchange seeds. Some said it would create conflict with big ag if farmers violate their contracts by selling seeds. However, proponents of the amendment say it has language that protects seed certification and ensures people can't sell seeds commercially. The Maine Farm Bureau, the state's largest agricultural advocacy group, says the amendment might have unintended consequences, like eliminating safeguards that help produce healthy, affordable food. Animal welfare groups like the Maine Veterinary Medical Association and the Maine Federation of Humane Societies also voiced opposition. They take issue with the phrase, consume the food of their own choosing. According to animal welfare groups, this could weaken animal cruelty protections. They even go so far as to claim this amendment is a right to factory farming and a right to eat dogs, cats, and horses.
Some aren't necessarily opposed to the root of the question, but its language.
Is it intending to say you can now have a cow in downtown Portland and the city can't create an ordinance forbidding that? we're deeply concerned by just the vagueness of it. And we feel that it would put current statutes into question.
Wait, does she really think people want to raise cows in downtown Portland, Maine? Well, better than raising cows in Portland, Oregon. But despite the fears of angering Big Ag, or the fears that people are going to start eating cats and dogs, last week, Maine voters overwhelmingly passed the nation's first right to food amendment in its constitution. And now the question is, will other states follow? Will cows be living in downtown Portland, Maine? And will Monsanto release its army of seed orc hybrids to overwhelm us all? So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, please know we could not do it without direct support from viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered and contribute $1 or more per episode to help us keep the show going. So click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.